All right, welcome to week 5, which is episode 6 of Ronde and Tiki presented by SuperBook Sports. Be sure to go to superbook.com, check out all the latest odds and wager opportunities. There's been some good and bad and ugly in NFL, bro. But I got to start. Where in the heck are you at still? Tell all the
Yeah, no,
peeps.
I'm not in my normal office setup with my Super Bowl trophy, my Emmy, and not wearing my Hall of Fame Ring of Excellence today. I'm actually in Italy for the Ryder Cup, which was terrible for the Americans, but very entertaining. It was a very entertaining match,
Did you ever
especially
feel like it
Sunday.
was did you ever feel like they had a chance?
I
Because
never
they went
felt like
down
my Right. I never felt like my pick for most points on the prop bet, Jordan Spieth, was gonna get a point. So no, it was not. It was not very good for me or the Americans, but it was fun. Marco Simone golf course was great. Now, as you can imagine, I am nowhere near Rome because that is a forsaken place with a lot of graffiti and too many people. I'm down the
there.
coast in Sorrento, living it up. A hard cigar later.
It's nice to live
What are you
together.
doing? What
Nice
are
to
you
live
doing?
together.
You're getting ready to go on air and talk about how good your Giants played, despite the fact that they got
Oh,
spanked.
wow. We'll get to them. I don't quite think they made the ugly category, but let's start with the good from this weekend.
They're good. There's some good.
There were a couple of teams that stood out as good, and we'll go with the unexpected teams that stood out as good. I can't help but look at the Detroit Lions. Now I'm biased here significantly because Dan Campbell was my guy. He was my teammate. I love his attitude, the biting knees, and all the other nonsense cliches that he throws out. But these guys believe in it and they're playing like it. And I think most importantly to me, he is old school, dude. When was the last time you saw a running back get 32 touches? 32. Look, they drafted Jameer Gibbs from Alabama. I love that kid. I think he's dynamic and do a lot of different things. Reminds me a lot of Alvin Kamara and how Sean Payton used him, where, by the way, Dan Campbell was before he was the head coach of the Detroit Lions. But he just rode David Montgomery to a big win over the Green Bay Packers and basically said, the North is ours. You're
Well,
gonna
they
have to.
yes, yeah, they laid claim to the NFC North, and they we shouldn't be surprised. Let's put it that way, because is Green Bay better than Detroit? Not right now. Will Jordan Love end up being a quarterback that can make them better than Detroit at some point? Maybe. I don't think he's there now. But going into this week's game, there were two 0-3 teams. Now one 0-4 and one 1-3 team in the NFC North. And despite this being yet another terribly boring broadcast, it was great to watch Detroit be who Detroit says they're going to be. That's all they are. They're a team that tells you how they're going to play and goes and plays that way. They held Green Bay to 230 total yards of offense and only 15 first downs, right? Right? You could say all you want about Jared Goff, uh, what they're doing on offense with Amon and David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs when he gets to play. Their defense held the Green Bay Packers to 230 yards. That's all you had to say. Look, they got a big chance this year to not only surprise people, but to continue to being the good of the good in the NFL. And because the story's great, right? They won 11 of 14 games, and it's no longer it should be considered a fluke at all.
No, I think that's the biggest thing because Jared Goff turned the corner a year ago. He surprised a lot of people with his command, his control. They almost got into the postseason, even though they were probably a year ahead of schedule. And they're taking all of that momentum, after starting poorly last year, finishing strong. They're taking all that momentum, which, by the way, I always say is nonsense. Finish the season strong because it'll carry whatever. It does that. That's baloney. But it
It's
actually
TV talk. It's TV talk.
it's TV talk. It's fun. It's working for the Detroit Lions. I mean, they started the season. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs, which nobody saw coming. They had a little bit of a letdown game against Seattle, but then they just go dominate Atlanta, and now they come and basically dominate the Green Bay Packers. And to the fact that Matt LaFleur was basically saying, "We got our ass kicked." right? And I know they scored some points, but they got their butts kicked. They never had a chance to win that game. And it's funny because when you think about coaches of the year, it's always that coach that's defying the expectation, right? Whatever the expectation was. I think DeMeco Ryans is going to be in that conversation because of how good they've looked, and CJ Stroud has been amazing. That's part of the reason. But the Lions, I think, are kicking way above where anybody expected them to be. But we know they were good. I don't think we knew they could be this good, and it was this old school. I'd go back and look at some of these stats that what running backs have. Nobody gets 22 carries, much less 32 touches like David Montgomery did.
Well, I think if you're talking anything, if the season ends the way it has, let's say four-quarter season, right? We just finished the first quarter. If the season finishes equivalently to the way the first quarter went, and Houston Texans win 8-9 games, and sneak into the AFC in the playoffs to the AFC South, then DeMeco Ryans is coach of the year, and CJ Stroud is rookie of the year. Right? Let's just stop right there, because CJ Stroud is by far, and we talked about this last week, the best rookie in football, quarterback-wise, playing so far. So I'm interested in where both of these teams that played in that Thursday night think go forward, because the Raiders are what they are, but the Raiders, Green Bay has a big Monday night game at the Raiders, -2 road favorites after just losing with 230 yards on Thursday night. How do you go into the Raiders favorites if you're the Green Bay Packers?
Because it's the Raiders. Who do you have as your good?
My good? You know who my good is, dude. My good is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This was going to be the worst team. Let me get in here. The worst team in football. Every single slapdick analyst said the Tampa Bay Buccaneers without Tom Brady were going to be the worst team in football. And yet somebody tried to convince me that the New Orleans Saints were good. They are not good. I would just watch that game, all 22 copy of that game, and handily won by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I know that Geno Smith was a comeback player of the year. Dave Canales was his quarterback coach last year. Dave Canales now the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield, after 4 weeks, is the comeback player of the year. He is doing things that make you realize why he was so coveted coming out of high school, or so successful coming out of high school, uncoveted, why he was so successful coming out of college, coveted as the number one pick in the draft, and why he was uncoveted as a free agent when Cleveland let him go. You realize why people get him wrong, because if you don't play him the right way, he doesn't look like this. But if you look at what Dave Canales is doing with Baker Mayfield in their scheme, moving him out of the pocket, giving him opportunities to create plays with his feet, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you understand why Baker Mayfield is the kind of the stud guy that won the Heisman Trophy and got Cleveland to a playoff game after having X number of years not being able to get there. And by the way, the Bucs have a lot of talent, a lot of talent. They should not be surprised that they are where they are, but people wanted to say they were the worst team in football. They are far from the worst team in football. My good is the Tampa Bay Bucs.
Well, here's the thing. I think it's a perfect match. Baker Mayfield's been on 4 teams in the last 2 seasons. It's crazy.
Right.
Cleveland, obviously he was in Carolina, started. He was in Los Angeles. He started by necessity out there in LA because all the injuries they had at quarterback. And then obviously now he's with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But it's his attitude that fits exactly what this Tampa persona is. And when you have talent, Mike Evans, who didn't even have a huge game last week, he only had 3 catches, but
pulled his hamstring. Had to pull a hamstring. Good thing Mike pulled his hamstring, because I don't think Marshawn Lattimore has covered him yet. So.
No, seriously. But in his stead, Chris Godwin has a huge day, 114 yards. And
Devin Tompkins. You don't even know who that is.
No,
you have no idea who Devin Tompkins is.
Well,
Tompkins
I know who he is because I had your game week 1, so I know who he is from Utah State. But yes, you're right. You're right. I mean, but to me, it's Baker, right? It's Baker making these guys relevant, and these touchdown throws that are perfect. They're highballed, right only where his guy can catch it. I remember week 1 when he's run out of bounds, scrambling on that third and whatever it was, 3rd and 6 or 7, and he's stiff arming the DB. He's like talking video. He's talking to him, saying, "Dude, put some weight on, little man." Dude,
right.
I love that. That's the quarterback, right? That's not like linebacker. That's your quarterback acting that way.
He had two throws. He had a touchdown pass on the 1-yard line to Trey Palmer, the rookie from Nebraska.
Yep.
Right on time. And then he had what has turned into quintessential Baker this year, breakdown in the offensive line or pass protection scheme, got an end running right at him, steps up, scrambles, keeps his eyes downfield, and flicks a little touchdown pass to K-Dot, and it was the first touchdown of the game. And you're like, that's Baker Mayfield. Yeah. Like, if that's Tom Brady, he's sacked. If that's like Kyle Trask, he's sacked. But it's a touchdown. And like New Orleans is sitting there going, man, we had him. We had him dead to rights. And people have been saying that other than Philly. Philly got after their ass. I'm not going to lie about that on Monday night. But the other 2 games, this is what we've gotten from Baker Mayfield. It's been pretty amazing. If you're a Bucs fan, you're pretty happy right now. You're saying we are gooder than we people say we were.
Tampa speak. All right, we're going to come back, Ronde. We got to do the bad. And unfortunately, my Giants are going to be in it. I can't help it, man. God, that was ugly on Monday night.
I'll drink to that, Tiki.
Well, while you're drinking, I got to ask everybody a question. Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, SuperBook Sports, this fall. SuperBook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now SuperBook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code Ronde. Now, if you don't want the Hall of Famer, you can use Tiki. So promo code Ronde or Tiki. So bet with the best and use promo code Ronde or Tiki. Not Ronde and Tiki, just Ronde or Tiki. This football season with SuperBook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back to Week 5, Episode 6 of Ronde and Tiki, presented by SuperBook. And Tiki, I got a question for you. Really quick question for you. Actually, before I go into football, I have to take a step into football across the pond, because your team,
why are you going there?
The Scoozers, are a VAR decision away from probably a couple VAR decisions this year, but one particularly this last week. And so I just want to ask your question, your opinion on VAR. This probably won't get into the show, by the way, but like, we have to talk about it, because this is really cutting you deep. This is cutting you deeper than the New York Giants playing bad.
This is killing me, by the way, because I'm a Liverpool fan, only because Ronde's a Man U fan. He told me to pick a team so I could talk soccer with him. I picked Man City. He said anybody but Man City. So I found Liverpool. And then they won the Champions League and they won the Premier League. I was like, all right, good. And they sucked last year. But this year, they've been on the money. They're top of the table. Well, they were top of the table until they had a nice little jaunt out to Tottenham. And Tottenham got them. Not the team, the officials. Those who don't know, football across the pond, as Ronde said, they use VAR for a lot of goals, because so much of the runs towards goals are tight, right? And if you're offsides, there's no goal. Luis Diaz had an unbelievable run towards goal and a goal. They got called off by VAR. That's the virtual assistant replay. Video assistant replay, right?
You're right, Tiki.
They called off the Luis Diaz goal, and they did it so quickly. In your mind, you're saying they didn't even look at it, right? And ultimately, they didn't even draw the lines. So, like the unofficial line that you see in football, they draw this line, but this is an official line. They draw it on the image to see if the scorer or anyone is offsides. They didn't draw the line, and they just called it off. and Tottenham ended up winning that match 2-1, and Liverpool gets no points. They subsequently have suspended for 2 games those are 2 VAR officials. So am I upset about this? Yeah, I'm upset about it
You
because
know,
my team should be top of table right now.
you know what though? If I could run this back to what we're talking about, this is why this is not the NFL.
Hmm.
Because I've frequently asked officials, the ones that are still involved that I know, and they don't want to legislate the game this way. They obviously they tried a couple of years ago with the pass interference. They've done it in so many different types of ways, but allowing video to confirm or deny certain plays brings in this air of impropriety, and there's some sort of human element that should be involved. It's different in soccer over there because we're super sensitive to it now because it's been around for 10 years, longer than that maybe.
Yeah, VAR.
Yeah, VAR, and they keep trying to mold it to perfection, and as they continue to try to over legislate, they get worse and worse. My question is, was there a play this week? I'm trying to think. Was there a play this week where VAR would have actually made a difference
In the NFL?
in the NFL? I ask myself this every week. Is VAR needed and is video assistant refereeing needed in the NFL more so than there kind of already is? Because we there's times in games where they throw a flag, it's pass interference for simplicity's sake, and they come together and the white hat comes out and he's like, there is no foul for pass interference, and you know for a fact that somebody hit them in their ear and said, y'all got that wrong, pick it up.
Yeah.
And it's like that.
Yeah.
And
so it did happen in the Jets game. The Jets were playing the Kansas City Chiefs, and amazingly, Zach Wilson outplayed Patrick Mahomes. And when it came down to it, there was a pass interference on Sauce Gardner. This was the last drive.
Right. Everybody's talking about this.
Yeah, Zach fumbles with 7 minutes and 30 seconds left in the game. They're down 3. So Zach fumbles. Kansas City has the ball. That was the last offensive play that the Jets ran.
Jets had.
Now they got off the Jets couldn't get off the field. Patrick Mahomes converted a 3rd and 23, and it was a 3rd and 20, another 3rd and super long that Sauce Gardner got called for holding. And on the play, it was a bust by Jordan Whitehead because it was man coverage. And he's somehow playing the deep quarter, even though he should have been in the flat, and he intercepts the pass. So he busts, but he intercepts the pass. After the pass is caught, the flag comes flying in for pass interference on Sauce Gardner. And so I tried to break this down yesterday because you can see the referee reach behind and you just can't find the flag. That's why it came in so late. But when you really watch it, if it would go back to VAR, it would not be. You can't call that pass interference because it was pushing both ways and he disrupted a little bit. But critical moment of a game, you can't call it. So that's where it would get used, I think, in the NFL.
Love it.
Robert was pissed off. He
should have been. He actually did a good job holding his shit together because he was like, you know, when you're talking to yourself, but you don't want to hear, you don't want the guy next to you hearing what you're talking, but you're like talking to him, but you're talking to yourself.
Yeah.
He just walked away and he walked back. He's still talking to himself, but talking to the guy. Oh, this was great. All right. We did the good. We did the bad now. Who is the bad?
You got to be my Giants, man. It's got to be.
Come on. They're gonna hate you if you say the Giants. They're gonna judge you. They're gonna say you're just trying not to be a homer.
Dude,
you can't do the Giants.
It's bad because Brian Daboll and by extension his staff were coaches of the years last year. You know, it was Brian Daboll who wins the award, but it's everyone. They bend don't break on defense with Wink. They were smart on special teams. They offensively, they just did enough. They were risk taking, but conservative and didn't make mistakes, right? Daniel Jones, who was a turnover machine his first few years, led the league in turnover percentage, tied with Jalen Hurts with 1.1% of plays with turnovers, which was the lowest in the league a year ago. And now everything is going wrong. They're not playing ugly. They're not in the ugly category, even though their Monday night loss 24-3 would look like it. But they have a guard playing left tackle. They have a backup guard at right guard. And they have Evan Neal, who might be a bust at right tackle. So they're limited to the short game. Saquon Barkley is hurt, and they gave away basically 14 points in a must-win early season game against Seattle. We're calling it the peer tier, right? There's the San Francisco 49ers, the Philadelphia Eagles, maybe the Cowboys are in that top tier, and then everybody else is kind of in that middle tier. And so the Giants have a bunch of these peer tier games that they need to win. Otherwise, we're not making the playoffs. And they looked bad last night. And it was everybody's fault, including Daniel Jones, who basically gave 14 of the 24 points to the Seattle Seahawks. They were bad. Defensively, they'll get criticized, but they actually played okay. It was just one big bust that allowed Noah Fant to go 51 yards down the 1 yard line. That was the only drive, really, that Seattle had. But after winning Coach of the Year, getting to the postseason, beating the Minnesota Vikings in a playoff game on the road, the Giants are 1-4 right now and staring at 1-6 because they have to go to Miami and they have to go to Buffalo. It could get ugly quickly.
What's Miami? Who they play Miami this weekend?
They play Miami at Miami this coming weekend.
What's the line there?
I don't know.
Big and getting bigger?
I bet double digits. It's definitely double digits.
You're right. All right. So peer tier, that's actually cute. That's really cute. I'm glad y'all are like rhyming to make it interesting right now. But look, they're not
Miami minus 11 already.
That top tier, you forgot about Kansas City. The champs are the champs until they're not the champs.
I'm just talking about the NFC. I don't care about.
Oh, you're talking about the NFC.
I'm just talking about. There's 7 teams that get in. The Giants they're the bottom of their peer tier right now. Hell, they might be in the lower tier at this point.
All right, the ugly Cincinnati's in trouble, buddy. But they're -3 road favorites this week at Arizona, and
you trust that?
The way they played last week, I would not trust that. They had one drive, and I am not kidding, one drive. And they could have scored a touchdown on it. It was their first scoring opportunity of the day. They kicked a field goal, and nothing resembling a Super Bowl team or a team that was a perennial playoff team materialized the rest of the game. I made myself go back and watch this game just to be sure it was what it was. And I hate to say it, they cannot block. They cannot block up front. And Joe Burrow, without the ability to move out of the pocket and run, is dead in the water. Teams are finding a way to take away Jamar Chase, even though he's pulling the 7-Eleven card and saying he's always open. He's not, by the way. This is one of those teams that will go down unless something changes as the most precipitous fall of 2023. They don't look capable of winning a football game. They're playing terrible on defense, and they can't protect the one guy they need to protect. So much, in fact, that I wouldn't be surprised if they sit him down and just say, "Hey, man, get healthy. We'll be better for it later." But right now, the ugly is the Cincinnati Bengals, not far followed by the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I'm not going to go there.
And because of their quarterback situation right now, so they are the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow, 2 of 22 on deep balls this year. 2 of 22. That's not open all the time, and that's not very accurate when you can't move. I'm going to throw in a surprise ugly because it is one of the 0-4 teams, and I actually had this game this past weekend, so it's like a little under the radar ugly. The Chicago Bears are in trouble.
Well, we know that.
No, but
we know that.
No, so it's what happened this past weekend. They were up 28-7. And ended up losing to the Denver Broncos. They were eviscerating the Broncos defense, as most teams have done this season. Vance Joseph has a lot of answering to do. but they came back and won the game. And a lot of it was because Justin Fields, who heretofore played phenomenal in this game, right? He had 300 yards, his first 300-yard game.
19 for 19 at one point.
No, 16 for 16.
16 for 16, that's what it was.
Incompletion on a Hail Mary at the end of the half. That was his first incompletion of the game. And he ended up, completing, 20 of 23, whatever it was. But he had a horrible sack fumble on a third down, which led a sack fumble 6 that tied the game. And then right before the end of the game, 2 minutes left, they get up to the line of scrimmage and try to go for it on 4th down. They call timeout because Denver didn't jump. Then they go back out there and run a play that taxes a rookie right tackle, Darnell Wright, who had to block out. It's a double out, and he has to pick up the linebacker. Linebacker shot the gap, blew it up. So they fail on 4th down. Still tied ball game. Next play, what does Russell Wilson do? Marvin Mims, 40-something yards into territory. They lose on a field goal. And Matt Eberflus is getting a lot of heat.
Yeah,
before the game, a lot else happened. Chase Claypool, one of their wide receivers, basically said, this team's not using me right. And they said, don't come to the stadium. And then after the game, Matt Eberflus lied about it. So they played well in the game, but it's getting ugly in Chicago really quickly.
We knew they were showing up to the dance ugly. It's like when the prettiest girl in the school shows up without putting any makeup on. That's what the Cincinnati Bengals are. It's a big difference. Or the prettiest guy in the school. Just not to be fair there. All right, let's come back in a minute and talk about the games of the week. We got the good, bad, and the ugly. I think Tiki's ugly takes the cake. Chicago Bears are the ugliest team in the NFL for a reason. All right, see you on a second.
I agree. Because they're 0-4. We're changing the game. Help your bets stay hot this fall at SuperBook Sports, the most trusted name in sports gambling with a direct line to Las Vegas. And now, when you use promo code Ronde or Tiki, you score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, SuperBook will match your first bet up to $250 with promo code Ronde or Tiki. Download the SuperBook Sports app in Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Nevada, Ohio, Tennessee, New Jersey, or Maryland. And then enter the promo code Ronde or Tiki, and you'll get $250 courtesy of SuperBook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Come right back with some picks. Welcome back to Ronde and Tiki Barber, presented by SuperBook Sports. Episode 6. Going into week 5. This is a fun weekend, Ronde. There's actually some good games this weekend.
There's always good games, especially this year in the NFL. Like, tell me you believe in anything that you're seeing in the NFL. A week ago, we thought the Dallas Cowboys were a fraud because they lost to the Arizona Cardinals and same old Dallas Cowboys. And now they're in everybody's top 5 in the power rankings. And the Bucks still were going to be the worst team in football if they lost to New Orleans, and they smashed New Orleans last week. Like, how do you know? Chicago was beating Denver by 28 points. 21 points.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
It is a crapshoot every single week.
But there are some good games this week.
There are. And you're right. By the way, I am in Denver. Again, I have the Broncos taking on the New York Jets. They had a revenge game. I can't wait. So last week, Ronde, you watched this game, and I watched this game. That would be the Arizona Cardinals and the San Francisco 49ers. And I got to tell you, Christian McCaffrey might be the greatest athlete to ever play running back.
I'll put it this way. If I'm doing an MVP count, your early season MVP, there's 3 people on the list. Tua, Josh Allen, and Christian McCaffrey.
No doubt about it.
And I believe at the end of the year, it's going to be one of those 3 guys.
Yeah, we might see a running back win it for the first time in a very, very long time. Seriously, he scored 4 touchdowns last week, 3 of them rushing. One of them, the hurdle where guys like jump over, like they just jump over the defender.
Yeah, he did it.
He did a proper hurdle.
Yes, I was a hurdler. I
I
was a
know.
national champion hurdler. That was a properly techniqued hurdle.
Indoor 55-meter champion, Ronde Barber.
Shameless
Fantastic.
plug.
Shameless plug. But it was a proper hurdle, and he did it without losing stride. It goes and scores a touchdown. It made no sense at all. I said this on my radio show this week, and people were like, "What about Jim Brown?" I was like, "Dude, he was a man amongst boys." What about Walter Payton? Walter Payton was great, but he wasn't this, right?
No.
Chris McCaffrey is special. They take on the Dallas Cowboys. It's in San Francisco. They are laying 3.5. 49ers are laying 3.5. And I know that the Cowboys look good defensively. They get after it. But the one thing that mitigates speed on the defensive side of the ball is speed on the offensive side of the ball. And look, Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. We've talked about him. He's no longer Mr. Irrelevant because he's extraordinarily relevant. Was 20 of 21 last week, right? This kid is, I don't want to say he's special, but he is damn good. And if he keeps growing in this system, he is going to like change what Kyle Shanahan's ceiling is, because he's always searched for this type of quarterback. So just looking at this game, I know Dallas has a lot of talent defensively. I know they have, Dak does his thing and CeeDee Lamb, et cetera, et cetera. I can't help but love the 49ers laying 3.5 at home, because all it's going to take is one mistake by the Cowboys and the 49ers will run away with this game. So I like the 49ers laying 3.5 at home.
The 49ers don't make mistakes on defense. That's where this line looks good to me. And by the way, Brock Purdy, you understand why they let go of a first-round draft pick for this guy. Put the tape on. Watch how fast he gets the ball out. Watch how quick he makes decisions. And Shanahan, of the young guns, the guru coaches, he by far uses his talent better than anybody else. And he has a quarterback now that's not going to muck it up by doing whatever, holding the ball too long, not being able to process and make decisions quickly. I like where you're going there. My game, and people might think I'm crazy, the Los Angeles Rams getting 4.5 at home to the Philadelphia Eagles. They
home
are
dogs.
Home dogs. Look, this team, the Rams, have the most exciting receiver in football. And no, it's not Cooper Kupp. It is Puka Nacua. This guy has more receptions than anybody in history through 4 games. Like, how is that possible? Because that Wally Pipp guy, I'm not saying Cooper Kupp's Wally Pipp, I'm just kidding. But you don't need him right now. The Rams are 2-2. And having won games with a quarterback coming from an elbow injury, a defense that was supposed to be one of the worst in the NFL under Raheem Morris, they're not, and an offense that has re-energized Sean McVay, 4.5 at home. 50 is the over-under. Definitely take that. Philly is not the team that they were in 2022 yet. Washington pushed them to the brink. And again, in this crazy NFL, last week we wrote off the Washington Commanders. We wrote off the Washington Commanders last week. And this week, or I guess week 4, they take the Philadelphia Eagles to overtime, and you're telling yourself that the Eagles might not be as good as we think they are. I think they are a good team. They have a great running game, play great defense. They're going on the road, cross country, to play the Los Angeles Rams, and they're getting 4.5. I know Hurts threw for 300 yards last week. I don't know if I trust 4.5, but I will tell you this: the Rams are plus 180 on the money. If I'm betting, I'm taking that, because I think the Rams could win this game.
That's a good call. I like the Rams. Their schedule has been tough for them because they're 2-2, but the Rams are very interesting because they're kind of playing above themselves, right?
They should have beat the Cincinnati Bengals, though. They should be 3-1. They should have beat the Cincinnati Bengals. So I don't know. This is the Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles aren't who they were last year yet. That's why I'm saying going cross country, having just played a tough game against the Washington Redskins, now going to the Rams, who are finding ways to create offense out of nowhere. Nowhere. They don't have a running game, really. Just create offense out of nowhere with two young receivers in Puka, Nakua, and Atwell, and they continue to put up points and score and win. Like, this is 4.5 dogs at home is a sketchy bet to me. So
Yeah,
I'm taking
no,
money.
I agree. All right, Ronde, before we get out of here, got to give a shout out or an opportunity for Green Bay Packer fans, New England Patriots fans, the Giants and Jet fans, Kansas City. This is all before the bye week. Hey, fans, if you're out in Las Vegas, go check out the West Gate. That's with the home of SuperBook Sports. It's an unbelievable SuperBook out there. It's the biggest one in the country. So if you're traveling in an away game, because you want to go to an away game, go to Las Vegas, right? Green Bay Packer fans, New England Patriots fans, Giants and Jet fans, go check out the Westgate and SuperBook Sports. Ronde, safe travels in Italy. We'll see you next week, brother.
See you, dude.
The Ronde and Tiki Podcast is produced by SuperBook Sports. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in Colorado, Maryland, Nevada, New Jersey, Ohio, and Tennessee. In Iowa, call 1-800-BETS-OFF or visit 800betsoff.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342.